Greetings, folks. Welcome to another edition of After Hours. Today in my virtual pub, I am joined all the way from Windsor, Ontario, Canada, by Rhiannon Lotze. How are you doing?
Hello. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Very good. I'm loving the subterfuge going on there.
Ah, yes. My very deceptive, very summer-like locale.
Yeah.
It's my Canadian summer home, despite the fact that we're still in winter/early spring.
Yeah. It's like we were saying before. We're both in the same boat, you know. It's like,
Just cold and wet.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I think the
very
only real
miserable.
difference is between like your early spring and our early spring is that you're slightly colder, we're slightly wetter.
Yeah,
I think that's
that's
the only
factual.
real difference, I think.
That's just facts.
Yeah.
Equally as cloudy.
Yeah, it's just grey and miserable. That's all
Yeah,
it is. It's just
that's it.
grey and it's miserable. Yeah.
We actually do have sun today, but I think it's the first time I've seen sun in about 6 months. So it's a very happy happenstance today, but it's very unusual, and I probably won't see the sun for another 6 months.
Yeah. I remember when the sun came out in Macclesfield, my hometown. We had a party. It was just like, what's that?
Any people who just have the sun as a reason to party, it's a good type of people to be around, though. You know,
Yeah,
who else
to
needs
be
a
fair,
better reason than that? Everyone over here is like, oh, it's a birthday or it's a wedding. We gotta have a party for that. But I want to be friends with the people who are like, hey, sun's out, we're having a party, guys.
Yeah. Well, that Macclesfield, any excuse. Yeah. Did you ever see? I don't know whether you ever saw the original version of the TV series Shameless.
I have not.
Basically, that's not a comedy. Where I'm from, that's a documentary. Not only do I know people like that, I'm related to them.
Yeah, I mean, art mirrors life, life mirrors
Exactly.
art. The circle goes on.
Very, very, very true. Right. So yeah, tonight I'm going to start you off. I'm going to you've released a couple of mini books with Madison Press.
Yes.
And your most recent of them is actually sitting in my Amazon basket. I was waiting for some money so I can actually buy my basket. I'm one of them people that just fills it up like over the month. And then when the money goes in, I'll just buy it.
It makes you feel better to do it all in one purchase too. Because then you can say, oh, I only wasted money once this month instead of, oh yeah, I made 20 small purchases that added up.
Yeah, saves postage. That's the way I look at it.
It prevents some harried Amazon worker from having to run around another 8 kilometers a day trying to get everything.
Oh man, God, they must be fit. Them people who do it
probably are.
Them warehouses, they must be like the TARDIS or something. It's looking fucking enormous.
With rooms that pop up out of nowhere too. They get into work one day and they're like, I have never seen that back room before. When did it get here? And they're like, oh yeah, it just appeared overnight. There's about another 8,000 products in there that we're now selling. Yeah.
When did we stop selling crisps? Why is there now an entire warehouse full of crisps?
You know, if I didn't have to leave my house for them, I wouldn't. So that's actually a very good market for them to get into.
Yeah. Well, I think you can actually buy snacks and things like that. Or if not, you can certainly do it with the supermarkets over here because we're still in full lockdown. So I am using it as an excuse to be incredibly, incredibly lazy. Seriously, earlier today, I had a guy on a moped go to the off license for me, get me some beers, some crisps. And some like other bits and pieces, like a packet of toilet rolls, and bring them to my door.
They've not made it quite that easy for us here. I live technically outside of the city, which is considered rural almost. So if you want groceries, you have to actually go to the store and they'll bring it out for you. But you have to have ordered them like 2 weeks in advance right now. So you have to anticipate that you're going to want chips and snacks 2 weeks ahead of when you're going to want them. Otherwise, you're not getting chips and snacks. It's very disappointing.
Well, I think it's just the fact that like your province, right? It's about like 7 times bigger than the UK.
It's huge. Yeah, no, you have to. There's no way to go anywhere. You have to actually physically own a car if you intend to get somewhere. Because if I tried to walk to the grocery store, it's like a 40-minute to an hour walk just to get some chips.
Freezing cold weather.
Yeah, exactly. You have to bust out the skis and the sled dogs. It's not worth it. No one wants to go outside. So yeah, it's not managed to get as easy for us as it has been in some other places. I know the bigger cities, you can like Uber Eats your groceries and things, but out here they still don't really.
That's the similar thing. It's Deliveroo.
Yeah,
which is the same. I mean, okay, it's the same thing. They don't do the raw place, but I live in a city, well, just outside of the city. So
yeah, I live far enough outside of the city that they go, yeah, you're rural and we're not delivering to you. You guys have to get outside yourselves.
You have the same problem with pizzas and delivery takeaways and things.
Weirdly, the area I'm known for, or Windsor, the area I'm from, is known for its pizza. Like Windsor pizza is a thing in Canada. So that is the one thing I can get any time of the day, no matter when I want it. Every place delivers. Not every place, but most of the places will deliver. So I can always get pizza because that is like the thing we are known for and very proud of. So if I couldn't get pizza, I'd have to move. I'd have to leave Windsor. There's no other point to stay here. It's for the pizza and only the pizza.
That's really interesting because I was a chef since I left school at 16 and went to Caton College, became a chef. I was a chef for like 20 plus years. So yeah, and I've never heard of that. I've never heard of like, because you like for pizza, you obviously think Italy, but then you also think New York and you think Chicago.
Yes. Windsor pizza.
Windsor.
So the difference is normally when you get pizza, it's got like the round pepperoni. We shred ours, so you get even pepperoni distribution on every pizza. And then we have very specific a cheese manufacturer that's local, so it has to have that very specific type of cheese.
Right.
And then, as much as I hate admitting this because it's very divisive, pineapple pizza was invented in the city an hour away from us, so it's also local to us.
All right.
So if you don't like pineapple on pizza, I hate to admit that to people, but for people who are like, yeah, I don't care, they just think it's a really cool fact.
I like a ham and pineapple every now and then.
Yeah. It's not an everyday pizza thing, but every once in a while.
No. Yeah. It's not your everyday choice, but every now and then, I do like. I've never had a problem with it. Yeah. I used to really like them when I was younger because I had more of a sweet tooth when I was younger. Because obviously the pineapple sweetens the base and all the rest of it. But every now and then, I don't understand people's aversion to it. I really don't.
I just don't think they've properly tried it. Just in their heads, they go, "That's disgusting," and I'll never like it. So then they don't really try it.
They probably have them crap ones you get from supermarkets.
That too.
Them frozen joints.
Yeah, or the chain stores, which is like it's pizza, but it came in a cardboard box that we just threw in a microwave. So
yeah, that's what I meant by the supermarket one. Yeah, it's a different deal. Yeah, but yeah, them ones they take out the cardboard, they stick it in the oven for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
No.
Absolutely not.
No, and it's like, as for me, I know as a chef, it comes down to the ingredients. So you get this crap that's been, tinned pineapple like sliced about that thin, because they got to make also a profit.
I've seen like crushed pineapple, that's just weird because it's then like weird. You're putting pineapple jam on a pizza, and that's incorrect because
now
it needs to have a substance.
That's not just incorrect. That's weird.
It is. It really is. That's like your 3 a.m. fever dream craving that no one should ever eat in their right mind aside from that specific instance.
Yeah. Oh, I've been there and done that so many times. I'm drunk, I'm hungry. What have I got in the cupboard?
Exactly.
Stick that in. Put some of that
Put
in.
together some unholy creations, yet somehow it's the best thing you've ever eaten.
Isn't
but it never will be again.
No, until you eat it until you eat the leftovers of it the following morning and go, what the hell?
Exactly. What have I done?
Like misfiring neurons in your brain have convinced you that it's brilliant. It's just, yeah, no, yes. So you've done these a couple of mini books with Madison Press, but your first is it was it? Am I right in saying it was your first published story was in Little Girl Lost?
Yeah, as in an actual physical book, I've had like magazine stories published and everything, but it doesn't quite feel the same. So in Little Girl Lost, it was the very first story I've ever actually had in a physical book that I could hold a copy in my hands and say, hey, I was a part of this.
Yeah. And you're in there with Piers Anthony.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So I'm a big sci-fi fan.
I'm in Little Boy Lost, and I had exactly the same thing. I was like, what? I'm in anthologies with Piers Anthony.
I got the email from them saying, hey, we're going to put your story in our anthology. And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. And they said, don't say anything yet, but we're going to start revealing the other authors soon. So I go back and I check every day and I'm like, okay, they haven't released any.
You've unfrozen. No,
perfect.
You've frozen.
That is probably our rural Canadian internet. Great. So good.
It's all good. To be honest, Callum does some editing for us, so we can just chop that bit anyway. So it's
perfect.
So where were you? As you were saying, you were waiting for them to reveal. Yeah.
So I go back every day to check their Facebook page to see if they've done any of the reveals. And, you know, I'm waiting and waiting. And I go back and they finally announced Piers Anthony. And I'm like, oh, you know, that's cool. That's neat. And then I go back to the page and I go, wait a second. Do they mean Piers Anthony, like the actual Piers Anthony? I didn't believe it at first. So then
they mean the sci-fi guy from the 70s, right?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it. And then so my dad and I are really big science fiction fans. So I go and I'm like, oh, okay. So like they've started to announce who's going to be in this anthology. And he's like, oh, you know, who are they? Assuming he would know nobody. And I'm like, oh yeah. So they announced Piers Anthony. And he goes, I'm sorry, Piers Anthony? Yeah, that one.
Yeah, well, I had the same thing with my partner she's more into the sci-fi and fantasy end of things than I am. But even I had a bit of a thing because I grew up reading all them used to get them Asimov science fiction collection anthologies, them paperbacks, best sci-fi and all that. The pulp stuff.
Yeah, all of the pulp, the books and the old magazines too, like Astounding Fiction.
Well, I grew up reading all that stuff, but I was more into the weird tales end of it. Obviously, because obviously I'm squid head, aren't I? Like, cosmic horror fan, I'm weird fiction through and through. But I remember reading like his stuff as a kid and like, oh, it's really cool. So when I saw it, like that he was going to be in Little Boy Lost as well, because I didn't know Madison Press at the time they did Little Girl Lost.
Yeah, I mean, Little Boy Lost came fairly soon after anyways. They've not been around for too long anyway, so everyone's getting familiar with them, which is great.
Yeah, no, I'm really, really happy I stumbled across them, to be honest. Because obviously I've had a mini book with them, and they're releasing my first short story collection and all this kind of stuff. And aside from that, you had your first mini book, which was Non-Profit.
Yeah.
Which I've got to say, I love that wordplay in that title.
Thank you.
I love it because I'm a big fan of wordplay.
Yeah, I dreamed it, and then I woke up, and normally your dreams are like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I woke up that morning and I was like, this is the next best idea I could have ever come up with.
No, yeah, I love that. I totally love the idea of it because obviously I haven't actually read it yet. Again, it's one of those that's in my thing. It's the problem you can get paid sporadically, isn't it? It's especially at the minute because I used to get a lot of my income from DJing.
Right.
Obviously, that's not happening.
Not a thing right now.
Yeah, or has been for a year. So basically, I am absolutely broke.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine. I bet your audience is kind of dwindled down to just whoever you can have in your house right now, which I assume for you guys is not many.
Yeah, it's basically well, actually, my partner's been over with her mother's since Boxing Day, since the second lockdown kicked in, because her father passed away from COVID. So I've basically been in my flat with a collection of stuffed octopus since Boxing Day.
I think maybe you could step up to a real octopus.
Oh man, yeah. My dream is to be like a Bond villain. I don't want to control the world. I just want his house. I just want a wall that's an aquarium.
Yeah, regardless of evil villainy, I want lasers in my house. Yeah. And then an aquarium beneath my feet with sharks and things. Yeah. And I will also take a cat just to
you've got to have
every
big,
once in a while.
Cat.
Exactly. Yeah. People come over to my house for the first time and I just spin around in my chair with my cat and my giant aquarium below my feet, and they're like, okay, this is really weird. And I'm like, no guys, this is just my house, it's fine.
I love it. Yeah. So so you got that from a dream then?
Yeah, non-profit. I did. Not even the plot, just the name.
Just the name.
Yeah, I had to come up with the plot afterwards.
I've done that several times. I've come up with a cool title and had to fit a story around it.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes it's easier though, because you go, I have to fit something into this, so your mind can't go haywire with it. You have to start limiting yourselves with what you're writing.
Yeah, I totally agree, because you kind of you've got to stick to the feel of the title.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the title is meaningless, and that way the story's meaningless because it's the title that is the story. So
exactly. It's so much easier sometimes, even if it's like the Little Girl and Little Boy Lost anthologies. You had a topic to write about, so it's a lot easier to come up with a short story that you have to fit into a certain category. Yeah, otherwise your mind starts going in really weird places.
I tend to write a lot for calls, but I don't know how do you write? Do you plot, or are you a pantser?
No,
because I'm a complete and total pantser.
Yes, I agree. I'll come up with I'll write down sentences of and then this happens, and then this happens, but then I'll get 3 sentences in and I go, none of that's going to happen as I'm actually writing, so then I stop. Because the second I start actually plotting, I don't write anything. That was the end of it. My creative process stops there. I have a plot and I'm never going to write the plot.
That's like me.
Yeah.
I've said this before, like somebody asked me, so you don't plot anything out. It's like the one time I decided I was going to plot something to be start to finish, I spent like 2 weeks arsing around with post-it notes and writing timelines and all this crap, and actually did nothing.
Yeah, no,
I just
the second you have to plot it out
for 2 weeks.
All of the excitement in writing what you were going to write is gone because you wasted it plotting. Yeah. That was it.
I know. The thing is, though, I know people who can only work like that. It's very strange, I find. It's like they think, they're like, I don't know how you could do it and make it make sense. Because I will basically, I'm similar to you on that. I wake up with an idea in my head, like from a dream, or just randomly pop in my head, and I'll go, I'll go write that. And I'll just start writing.
Yeah, it's so much easier.
Words.
The only thing I will research is food. That's the only thing that I always want a lot of food to be written into everything that I write. So even in nonprofit, the character liked to cook. So I started researching, okay, what would people who are living up in post-apocalyptic Alaska be eating right now? And it never even came up. It wasn't important, but I always know what food is going to be involved. And that is the only thing I will ever plot out, because it just always takes me into the story, I guess.
Oh, nice. Oh, it's a shame I didn't know you a couple of months earlier, because I'm actually editing a horror cookbook at the minute.
That's amazing. Kate, what goes into a horror cookbook?
Right, you write a story. Every author involved writes a story that involves a certain food.
Okay.
Like obviously for things that involve anything illegal or dangerous, you find an analog, right? And it comes with a recipe. So basically, if somebody writes about, like, off the top of my head, actually, I've been in one before. So I wrote a story about like my recipe was a traditional British steak and kidney pie, but in the story, this was a steak and kidney pie that was made out of like it was human kidneys and
so kind of like a Sweeney Todd kind of thing. Like,
it was more Jack the Ripper than that. It was more like Jack the Ripper, but it was made as a tribute for one of the great old ones to Sogua, who is known as the gluttonous god or the sleeping god. So basically, this was set in Victorian Cornwall, and this was a pie that could destroy the universe.
That's incredible.
And then the recipe that came with it. And I made a point of putting in my recipe.
Does the actual recipe destroy the universe? Did you have to like edit it out? Be like, okay, this one ingredient is going to be what makes this universe destroying. So I'm just
because obviously, if you put human kidney in the pie, it will destroy the universe.
Yeah,
obviously, I put ox kidney in the recipe.
Yeah, just so give a little asterisk.
Yeah.
Substitute this for this if you don't want to actually destroy the entire
universe.
world.
One of the things I really liked doing was at the end of it was the bit when you're on about like putting the lid on it and all that. And I was like, if you have any offcuts of pastry, because the Shoggy was also known as the toad god. And in my story, I had these like giant carnivorous toads jumping around this village eating people. So I says, why don't you, if you have any offcuts of pastry, why don't you make some decorations for the top? Maybe some carnivorous toads eating a vicar's leg. Yeah, so that kind of silliness is kind of where I'm coming from on that.
Astounding. I love everything about that. I need more of these cookbooks in my life.
It's a shame I didn't know you. It's a shame I didn't know you slightly earlier, but I do plan on doing a follow-up to this one. I will definitely keep you in mind on that.
Please do.
Yeah. And then you released something that I was incredibly excited about when I saw it, which was your Of Gods and Myths.
Of Gods and Myths short story mini book collection.
Which I was talking to Deidre about this. It's an incredibly cool concept. You've got like a mini book, sort of novella-sized short story collection.
Yes.
Pretty unique, really.
It's a lot, like you'll never see anything like it elsewhere. As far as I know, Manison's the only ones who are doing something like this.
Yeah. I mean, there's other publishers who are doing like the smaller books, like the your novelettes and that kind of thing. But to do like your mini book size thing, but have it a short story collection, that's really cool.
It's great. I'm so glad that I found them, because ever since I wrote for the Little Girl Lost anthology, I keep going back. Every time they have a new call out, it's like, okay, I'm writing something for you guys. You will hear from me. I'm
exactly
again.
The same. Yeah,
they're probably sick of me at this point, but they'll never get rid of me now.
I think that as well. It's like when they recently had their novella thing open, I sent something in and I was like, I bet they're bloody sick of me right now. Because they're actually working on my edits for my short story collection. So I'm kind of like, I bet Ron is sick of me right now.
I also submitted for the novella with 30 minutes left in the actual time call. Like there was only half an hour left before it was going to be cut off and I couldn't submit anymore because I hadn't even been planning a novella until I saw their call for it. And then I went, oh, I'm sorry, you guys, I guess you're going to hear from me again. So then I had to write one within, I think I managed it in 2 weeks, because by the time I actually got around to writing it, it was running out of time. So they'll have something from me to read.
Furious hammering at the keyboard.
They do beta reading, so I actually had Ron beta read something for me independently of Madison Press. So by now they're probably just like, okay, she won't leave us alone, how do we get rid of her, like, come on, go away.
That's it. It's gonna be this video coming up and Ron's gonna go, oh, not them two again.
They're gonna start putting like wanted posters around our faces. Can you catch these authors? please get rid of them. We don't care what you have to do, whatever it takes.
Distract them, or something.
They're going to start just making fake posts of things that they're going to be publishing and hope that they can distract us with those.
Put the real ones out under the radar.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. The thing is, it was like with these after hours, I mean, because I've been doing them before, and it was actually because obviously doing this back and forth on the editing thing with Ron, he'd been watching them, so he was kind of like, would you mind if we contacted some of our authors? I'm like, nope, go for it. This show is my entire social life right now. So
honestly, same. Like, yeah. I live with my family, but I don't go outside of my family. So it's like, so sorry for social interaction of any kind, because I never see anyone else. It's been a year since I've left my house.
Yeah. This is it, isn't it? Oh, it's like everybody I've talked to is just like, oh, this is great. It's like,
yeah,
a conversation with a person.
Exactly. It's not my stuffed octopus or my cat.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I've had so many conversations with this lot. I mean, Helga the squid gets quite a lot by my random rantings and ravings. Yeah,
she looks like she's going to be an excellent conversationalist.
Sure, she is. Yeah. She doesn't like what I'm saying. She just whacks me on the nose with a tentacle.
I think more people should be like her.
I think so. Yeah, I like people who are straight to the point and don't muck about.
Exactly. Just be blunt about it, guys. Just the whack to the nose is all you need.
But again, that comes back to my upbringing. We're not exactly subtle where I'm from. You don't like. What are you talking about, Biff?
See, here, conversations don't ever end because we're all too polite to end them. So we need a little bit more of the bluntness that everyone else has, because instead you start slowly shuffling towards the door.
Yeah.
And then whoever you're talking to comes with you. And then you end up out in the driveway and you start shuffling down the driveway and they're coming with you. You get into your car, you have to roll the window down so that you're now talking while you're inside your car. They're still in the driveway. And every 5 minutes you have to obligatorily say, well, I'd better get going. And then you don't go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So conversations last an extra 2 hours when they should have only been 5 minutes because we're all just too polite to end the conversation.
Thing is, though, you get that with your friends up there because, well, you probably guessed we're what the British call gobshites. We could just talk nonsense for hours, non-stop, very rapidly, very quickly. We'll just stand there going at each other for fucking hours until somebody physically grabs you and go, "Will you just bugger off home?"
Yeah, that's similar to what happens here. It's just we will never tell them to go away. The last time I had friends over, I think they wound up staying until 3 a.m. because no one was willing to be like, oh, I'm really tired and I should go. So, 3 a.m. they're walking out the door and we're still chatting in the driveway and they get into their cars and I'm standing between each car. They both have their windows down on either side of me and I'm holding a conversation. 2 different people.
By the time they've got down the street, it's 5 a.m.
Exactly. We all had to get up for work the next morning after getting no sleep because we just can't stop talking.
Thing is, I've had things like this when I've had people on. And we finished the recording and we ended up just talking for hours. Like afterwards, it's fucking hell, it's like 4 a.m.
It would be so different because everyone would be in different time zones too,
Yeah, well, it was like the person I was talking to, he'd just finished work. So it was only like I think by the time we'd done the interview and that, it was probably like 6:30, 7 p.m. But for me, it was like 3 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, even here it's only 6 now, so it's still nice and light out, but obviously a little bit later for you.
Yeah, so. it's just gone 10. It's just gone. Yeah. It's just 10. Yeah. So which that confused the crap out of me earlier.
I know. I forgot that we do daylight savings time here, and no one else does.
I was completely oblivious. I thought we all did it at the same time.
Yeah. So, and some places don't do it at all anymore. The company I work for, we have one of the people we work with is in Italy. They don't do it at all, apparently. So we were waiting for him at 9 o'clock our time to join our Zoom call about work, and we're like, what? Where is he? What's happening? He's never late. So finally, someone sends him a message, and he goes, "What do you mean it's 9 o'clock there? Shouldn't it only be 8 o'clock there?" And we're like, "Oh no, it's definitely not 8 o'clock anymore because we all jumped ahead for no reason."
Yeah, our jump happens around Easter, sort of April time. So yeah, I think we're probably about a month behind you on the jump.
It doesn't make any sense. And so for Ontario specifically, some of the other provinces have already abolished it, I think, or they're about to. Ontario wants to abolish it, but they only will if Quebec, which is right next to us, and New York does the same thing. So we now need to get 3 different government districts to agree to end daylight savings time before we can get rid of it altogether. It'll never happen.
Trying to get 3 government districts to order on what topping of pizza they want is never going to happen. Never mind exactly. Something like that.
Exactly. So, daylight savings time is totally a feasible issue that they're all discussing, and it's totally going to be gone by the end of the year.
As long as we can get 2 other governments to agree. And on that day, pigs will be flying people across the world.
It'll truly be the end
Japan
of the world.
On pigs. Yeah. Listen, there was another author I spoke to a while ago doing something which confused the crap out of me as well, because I thought by this point I had like the time zones of Canada, United States pretty much sorted, right? And I was like, right, so okay, so where are you? All the rest of it. She was like, oh right, well it'd be like 6:30. So I was like, right, so that'll be like 5:30 for me. No, sorry, like 10:30 for me. No, it'll be 11 for you.
Were they from Newfoundland by any chance?
Newfoundland.
Yeah,
yes.
It's an extra half hour for some reason.
Extra half an hour. I was like, half what?
As far as I know, they're the only ones in Canada with the extra half hour. I could be wrong.
No, they are. I looked it up because I was just like, that's bonkers. So I Googled it. So
I think they got bored one day, and what's going to be a really good prank, guys? If we move our time zone so that we are a half an hour different than everyone else. And then they just didn't back out at the end.
Well, that's exactly what the author said. She goes, Nicole Little, I think her name was. But yeah, she said the exact same things. We just wanted to be different. I like that. I can get behind that.
Yeah. Until it starts confusing every schedule you've ever made ever.
I'm just waiting for somebody else to go, you know what? Let's go 15 minutes.
Make it weirder. It's 17 minutes.
Oh, yes. There we go.
Yeah. Because the extra 2 really makes a difference.
Makes a difference on the sunshine. Yeah. It's like half an hour. I mean, how much more light can you get in half an hour? It's not exactly much, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing for them is because they are a fishing community, I guess they're very much like, the fish don't go to sleep, so we have to have this extra half an hour.
That actually probably makes sense. It's probably something to do with tides.
Yeah, maybe. Tides are just that maybe there's extra productivity. If they don't
mackerel
have to
get up earlier. Mackerel get up half an hour earlier than every other fish. So you never know.
I have to now find a Newfoundlander, a Newfie, and ask them why. Do you know the reason? Is there a reason? Can you tell me? Illuminate this subject for me, guys. I'll plan a road trip just to find someone to ask.
Yeah. It's confusing. It is bonkers.
Yeah.
So anyway, look at that. Sorry, I'm choking now. That's made me laugh. Going back to your mini book thingamabob. short story collection. So my brain's gone to sleep now. It's bloody Newfoundland's blown my mind.
They do that.
Yeah. So of Gods and Myth. Yeah. You had me at the title of your first one, which was like King. I can't remember his name.
Adrian and the Golden
King
Hydra.
Adrian. I was like, you had me at Hydra. It's like, sold.
I always love things from Myth. And then
yes.
I had originally submitted only 2 stories.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went, oh, they don't match at all. So one was more of a Greek inspired myth. And then the other one was like the concept of God and Adam and Eve, but in a sci-fi way. And they go, these don't make sense at all. So I went, okay, you don't think they make sense. That's perfect, because now here's an extra 4 short stories all about different myths and things. So the Hydra one, I think, was the very last one I wrote, and turned out being one of my favorites, to the point where I am using that world to write a novel about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I actually saw on your website, I can't remember the bloody name of it now, but I remember the title of somebody who said what you're currently writing. You've got that little scrolly thing at the bottom.
Yeah, that has probably changed, to be honest. I don't even remember the last time I edited that. And I'm sure it's not the same anymore. I can find out though. Because I start a project and then I don't always get finished with them, despite my best efforts. Sometimes
typical author.
Just doesn't work anymore.
Typical author.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
We're so good at like going, I'm going to write like 9 out of the 10 chapters and then just go, you know what, I can't be asked to finish it.
Exactly. That last chapter was too much.
Yeah.
So the 2 I have listed right now, one is called Fae, which I've renamed, but it's untitled. So I guess I unnamed it. That one is actually about witches and the wild hunt and German lore and mythology.
Oh, superb.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I've got German family, so
my father's side of the family is like purely German. So I decided that I'd finally write something that was inspired by Germany, because no one ever really, aside from redoing all of the Grimm brother fairy tales, no one kind of does anything new with it. So I wanted to do something different.
That's very true. You get a lot of retellings, don't you, rather than expansions on the subject.
So for this, I got a notebook and I'm writing new fairy tales altogether, which aren't going to factor into the book in any way, shape, or form, but I just want to have them. This way I can be like, these fairy tales that you guys are retelling, I've got different ones. So I can always grow from there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
march to the beat of your own drummer. I've always thought that. Yeah, do what you know. I've always been a firm
don't get me
believer
wrong. I am a sucker for a good Red Riding Hood retelling. There are just too many of them out there to read anymore.
It's one of those current things, though, isn't it? It's like, things come in circles, and some things come in vogue, some things move out of vogue. That seems to be one of the current things.
Yeah. A few years ago, it was zombies, which I was hugely into. I wrote like 4 different zombie books, which never went anywhere because I was 12. But I kind of miss the zombie days. And then after zombies, we did vampires and werewolves.
Yeah, vampires and werewolves. Yeah.
Which are technically making a resurgence, but in more of a horror way, which is good. I was sick of romance, which is really vampires.
Good. I'm sorry, sparkly vampires just.
When I originally read the books, I didn't love them.
I'm an old git, right? I grew up on Christopher Lee is Dracula.
Yeah.
Me, right? Dracula should be that. He should be suave and he should be menacing.
I agree. When I first read the books, I really liked them. And then a few years later, I looked back and then I went, oh, I'm so not into sparkly vampires anymore. And I can't believe I ever liked it. So it's a period of hard cringe for me that I'm glad I got out of. But I'm excited to see it resurge in a horror way and not a romantic way.
Yeah, I want to see some proper badass vampires again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wrote a story not long ago. I mean, this was unusual for me because I was invited to a call, and what I tend to know, I just tend to do what I do, which is the cosmic horror and tentacles and all that kind of thing. And I got asked to do this vampire thing, and they specified we want mean bastard vampires. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a crack. And I wrote it, and I'm really pleased with it. And that'll be coming out at some point. But yeah, and I just, yeah. Because basically the concept of it was throughout history. So we were given a time period. And basically because I used to be in a pirate band.
That's amazing. Please tell me it was Ailstorm. Please tell me it was Ailstorm.
No,
I don't know
no. Well, it was before Ailstorm, but
so they just copied you.
We were slightly different. We were more like traditional sea shanties, but kind of like a punk rock take on.
That's amazing. That's like so right up my alley.
Well, I've got a bunch of this stuff. I'll send you some stuff. I'll send you the album. That'll be fine. But so basically, somebody who knew me was on it and just went, like, Tim might want that. So I got the golden age of piracy. So I did this whole thing about this ship of pirates, the press gang and all that kind of business. And I loved writing it, and I just loved making the captain a right bastard.
Yeah, it's so much nicer sometimes.
Thing.
It's freeing when the main character or any of your characters just get to do whatever the hell they want without having those pesky things like morals get in the way.
Yeah, I love it. I love letting loose with my villains. I've got a few. It's so much better villains. Too.
I'm really sick of all of books and movies that are trying to tone down their villains.
Yeah, that shades of grey thing.
Because he wants to murder everyone. Like the Avengers movies, I get it. The universe was overpopulated, and Thanos thought he was doing everyone a favor. But he would have been way more interesting if he actually just wanted to kill everyone.
Yeah, well, that's why I've always liked Loki, because he's just completely irredeemable. He's just a little prick. He's just like, you know what? I don't like any of you, so I'm just gonna fuck with you.
He's a true trickster god. He's just like, I am here for me and for a good time. And if none of you like that, I don't care. I'm out of here.
I don't care.
You'll catch me later as I'm pulling some shit with the Tesseract. But until then, see you later.
Yeah. Bye. I love him. I love that. And I think I loved Loki in the comic books as well. It's just so funny.
I'm less familiar with the comic books because I'm more familiar with the actual Viking lore.
Yes, right. Yeah. Well, I'm somewhere in the middle somewhere. I'm familiar with both, but
I did all of the movies, but not so much the comic book. So I'm definitely missing out on like that whole side of the Marvel universe, but I'll get there one day.
To be honest, I didn't get into it until fairly late. I never really read a lot of like the superhero comic books and things like that. But my stepdad was into it in a big way. And when he died, he had the collections, like these hardback collections of all the Marvel thing. There's bloody hundreds of these books. And he left them to me. So I thought, well, yeah, I may as well give him a read.
Yeah.
And I was like halfway through the first one. I'm like, why have I waited my life to read these? These are awesome.
Wasted so much time not reading them.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of them moments when you're kicking yourself for weeks.
Yeah.
It's just like, why? What was I doing?
Can't believe it took this long.
Yeah. So aside from what we've all touched on, like from a writing perspective, so where do your big influences come from? Like obviously you said the myths and that. So I like to draw from myths and history and then completely do them differently. Because since I don't ever plot, I also don't like to research enough to do something that's sort of historical fiction. So I go, this is a real thing. I don't care enough to research into the real history of it. So I'm going to make something completely different out of this. I do that.
Way no one can say this is inaccurate, because I can say I made up this world. It's not inaccurate. You're wrong. I
had a rejection because of that. Somebody said, really? This isn't accurate to the period. It's not supposed to be accurate. I made it. It's my alternate history take on the period.
Like you write something that's sort of real, sort of not. Like say you're writing about vampires on the high seas as pirates, and they go, this isn't realistic. And you go, there's no such thing as vampires on the high seas.
Exactly. Oh, it always makes me laugh. It always really makes me laugh. This isn't historically
and you never
accurate.
know what someone is going to take issue with in terms of accuracy as well. Because sometimes there's always just that one little sticking point that they're so upset with, and you go, but it doesn't even matter. It doesn't have anything to do with the plot. It's a made-up world. It doesn't have to be accurate. And they go, does it though? And you're like, no. And they go, yeah. And it's just an endless loop.
Somebody picked up on in one of mine. It was a review that I read, and they really seemed really pissed off because I got something to do with a pen wrong. I can't even remember what it was. I think I called it the cartridge pen.
Right.
And they were like, "Oh, that type of cartridge pen didn't come out for 2 years after you said when you'd written it when it was set." I was like, it's just a fucking pen. It doesn't matter.
That's amazing. I have newspaper editing experience, but nothing on the side of actual fictional books. So it's so interesting too how they go, oh, this one thing you said, I had to research that. And you're like, I never would have even thought to research that. Why are you researching when this pen came out? It's so specific. And I don't understand what
I've just got this image though. I've just got this image now of this guy sitting at home in a room full of pens. Like stroking his little cartridge pen. Yes, my pretty, we'll teach him his folly.
Yeah, all of them, like a little museum, they've all got the little plaque and everything to say the name of the pen, the manufacturer of the pen, and the year it was made. This guy just walked into that room and we looked around for a minute and went, I know that pen's around here somewhere. Went, aha, there it is. And then just pulled the plaque down. Was like, I knew this guy was wrong.
I'll teach him.
Yeah.
Let's review bomb him on Goodreads.
But yeah, it's amazing what they come up with. So when Ron was editing one of my novels, it was set in the desert and they rode camels. And technically camels are real, so I can't say this is a fictional camel, but he said, oh, they don't actually have hooves. And that floored me. I had no idea. And I also never would have even considered that I should look up the anatomy of a camel to check if they have hooves.
To be honest, Ron's caught me. That guy is incredibly knowledgeable.
It's so amazing. The attention to detail he pays to everything.
Several times with things like that. They're saying, that's not a thing, right?
Yeah. I'm like, no, I didn't know it was a thing.
No,
I had no idea.
How do you know these things?
He catches all of these little details that I never would have even considered or known to look up. Because in my head, a camel is like a horse of the desert and it clearly has hooves, but no, it doesn't.
No.
Yeah. I then had to
strange,
Control F the entire document searching for the word hoof and hooves. So I could take them out.
That's always the pain in the ass, isn't it? When you realize, why is it when you're writing a manuscript, especially a really long one, like a novella or a novel or something, right? Why is it you only realize you've made a massive cock up on something that's in it a lot right at the end? You never spot it at the beginning. It's always right at the end.
That would be way too easy. Especially when it comes to the plot holes that take 8 more chapters to correct. And you're like, now this story doesn't make any sense.
My partner's a good one for that. She's actually doing a proofreading course, but she's got a master's in English. And she is incredibly good at spotting when I've dropped a massive bollock. So basically, as you go, you do realize there's a plot hole here, and here. Like, no, I didn't.
I mean, everyone needs that person though, because otherwise you start submitting and all of the agents and publishers that you're submitting to read it and they go, well, what is wrong with her? Why did she submit this with 18 different plot holes? What's going on? And it's like, no, I just didn't have someone else to catch them. And I'm sorry, but could you take it anyways?
Well, this is what I think.
Just take it.
Yeah. Well, this is what I think that like beta readers and I mean, like I say, I've got her, and but I think editors so important, and Yeah, I think good editors are very like I've worked with a lot of editors now, and some of them are very much just brass tacks. They'll make sure your commas are in the right places, and like you've not got like full stops where there should be like something else, you know. But then you have like I've worked with 2 or 3 now. Ron is one of them. Like really, really good hands-on editors.
Yes.
Which are like proper line editors. They will go through every single line and they, you know, that doesn't make sense with that. That doesn't make sense with that.
It's
and
actually
they're a lot more. They're a lot rarer
than
you think.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, but I think it's so important, and like to have it to like I say the like you know like rocking horse shit, getting good beta readers and editors because they're rare, man. You know.
Yeah, even in traditionally published books, it makes a difference. You can tell if a book had a good editor or an okay editor because you're reading it, you're like, I'm not really sure why that slipped through.
Oh yeah, I've read some books by some incredibly like talented and well-known authors that obviously the editor has just thought the editor's obviously gone. Well, he knows what he's doing.
You kind of.
I'll just sort of that's fine. That's
it's
fine.
It's a double-edged sword as you start to get popular as an author too, because eventually your editors are like, yeah, it's fine. They know what they're doing. They're popular. They're professionals, and you're like.
But I've read it, and it's like it's not even like the odd plot problem or anything like that, or anything like really technical. It's very basic things like typos.
Yeah.
And because you're reading it, and the thing I think more, if it is a well-known author and you're reading it, that typo is going to spring out and slap you in the face.
Yep, and you're never going to forget it.
Yeah, and you're going to go, I found a typo in a Stephen King novel. You know what I mean? It's like, so I think it's more noticeable.
It is, yeah, especially if like big author, big press. They have the resources to make sure that typo wasn't there, and I spotted it. You guys should hire me because clearly I'm the editor you need.
That's awesome. Yeah, I couldn't agree. I honestly couldn't agree more there. I get that sort of like, I get that sort of schoolboy thing going on.
You feel a little bit smug about it, even though it's like, I am I don't know anything about the editing process, and I have absolutely nothing to say about this, but I'm going to say it anyways.
Yeah, so I hold my hands up. It was like when I was like, it's like working with editors, and they'll come to me and saying, you know, this there's a problem with this problem with that, and they're always really nice about it, and like because I know some people can get really shirty about things and get really upset, and I don't. I hold my hands up. I'm a terrible editor. I will never be an editor, like ever. I'm terrible. Once I start the editing process, I just get too busy just reading it and going, "No, that bit's funny." Like, oh yeah, and I'm not actually paying any attention. I'm not actually editing. I'm just reading.
They always say that when you edit, you're supposed to wait like 2-3 months before you go back to it. But the problem is, if I do that, I forget everything I wrote. So then I start reading it and I'm like, I forgot that I wrote that. Oh, well, that was an excellent bit of plot there. And then you forget that you actually have to check for your actual plot holes and just your basic commas and punctuation and grammar. So I always have to edit right away, but then when you do that, you also don't get the detach from the story. So you're always going to miss one thing or another.
Well, I think the biggest problem I have with that is that that obviously doing it, you're supposed to have a detach and all the rest of it. And like you were saying about about the deadline on the novella thing. If you waited, you'd never meet a fucking deadline.
No, it's true.
I wouldn't.
It's true. I finished writing it the day before it was due. Spent the day of doing the editing on paper, and then I fed it through an editing software, but it wasn't going to be enough to pick out any really big glaring issues with it. So I'm just fingers crossed hoping that it's not
too bad.
So messy that they're like, okay, this is too much. that we can't even work with this right now.
Yeah, no, because the thing is, I'm one of those people that, but if I don't set myself stupid deadlines and things like that, I will never do anything. So, like this month, right? I've got myself. I had 2 pieces that I had commissioned that I needed to write for the end of the month. There was also 2 other anthologies I intend to write, and something else that I need to work on. So yeah, so that basically gives me a week on pretty much each thing. But the first 2 weeks, I did nothing. Last week, got a novelette knocked out. I've got another bit. Like today, I got like 2/3 of a story done. So this is how my brain works. I can't work
all of a sudden
unless
it
the
just
pressure is on.
and you're like, that's it. This is the day I'm going to get everything finished.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to write again for another 6 months, but you're going to be like, I had that one really good day. And that's just
the thing is, I've
right
done this. I've actually got myself because I got invited to a lot of different anthologies, and I'm at that point now. I keep getting invited to things. I've basically booked myself up till June. It's just like, yeah, I've really got to like really hammer at things until June. It's just like, but this is great because it stops me sitting there eating crisps, watching the television.
Yeah, especially in lockdown, it's really good to have a project.
Well, this is it. It was after like, because it was fine when my partner was here, because she has a 9-to-5 job. So she was there on her laptop in the other room at work. So I was in here and I was basically working a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
She's not here. I'm just like,
that 9-to-5 is out the window. I also work a 9-to-5, but that is a hindrance to the writing process because obviously I can't be writing while I'm doing my actual job that pays the bills. Yeah. So I have to try to squeeze in time where I can. So it's always like, I'll grab my phone or my laptop before bed and it's like, okay, I'm falling asleep, but I'm going to write for 10 minutes. And that's how things get done.
You got to sneak it in where you can, haven't you?
Yeah, it's true.
So, do you like? I always find myself getting the urge or the ideas and things like that in moments when I just can't physically actually write. Like if I'm sitting in the doctor's waiting room or something, I'm sitting there going, oh, God.
They're always really convenient that way. All of my best ideas are so nice to just hit at the exact wrong moment.
Yeah, yeah. I can just imagine you sitting there. What was it you do for a day job? I think you said you're like a PR or something.
Yeah, it's a tech company, so I do their blogs and social media.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a good job.
Yeah,
I do get to technically write all day, just not write for myself.
Yeah, writing for somebody else, which just isn't as fun, is it?
I mean, I'm not about to admit that on camera. And it is fun. Like it's different topics. We have a couple different brands, so I get to research. But at the same time, I can't exactly slip a zombie attack into the blog that I'm writing for work. I feel like it. They're going to be like,
it would be really funny if you were doing writing and things at the same time, and you accidentally posted the wrong page.
Yeah. How did we go from e-commerce to people getting their brains eaten out? And I'm like, oh, it's fine. Totally makes sense. Don't worry about it, guys.
So to push sales in this week, our brains. Sorry.
Exactly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make a joke. Yeah, you can have some real fun with that, can you? Like slip some random stuff in here and there.
It's a good test to see how much of my audience is paying attention, though. All of a sudden, all of the comments are like, was there a mention of a zombie in there? And you're like, yes, that was a test. Congratulations, you guys passed.
Yeah. That reminds me, one of the funniest things I ever saw. It was, it's the British, he was a journalist, then a TV presenter, James May. He was on Top Gear. He worked for this motor car magazine, right? And he'd fallen out with the editor, and the editor, as basically a punishment, gave him this end of year sort of calendar-y type of thing, right? So what he did was every first and the like in the thing in the formatting, every like start of the paragraph about these cars was a letter, right? He spelt out down the thing. This might look pretty cool, yeah, but I can tell you it's a right pain in the arse to put together. All the way down this thing, and they twigged it and fired him.
Ooh, yikes!
I was just like, that's classic. That's classic. You should do that down the side of the thing. Yes, and then Jane had her brains eaten by a zombie.
Hidden messaging in my very technically written nonfiction. Professional blocks.
You could probably start a trend if you did it, I don't know. Start a trend with office workers writing stories just like down
We've
the
all
margin.
just got a little chain of them. So you don't even have a full story in your own blog. You start with a letter, and then the next blogger's like, oh yeah, this is my letter.
This is meme theory gone mad. I love it.
Gonna start tweeting about this new trend, guys.
Yeah, love it. Right, so yes, well, it's been an absolute pleasure. We've run out of time, which is very bonkers. Yeah, so you'll have to come back at some point because we barely talked about anything like we were.
I know we kept getting distracted.
But that's how these things go. Right, yeah. So thank you for coming on. This has been a really good laugh.
Thank you for inviting me.
Really enjoyed this. Yes, so you people at home, if you want to check out Rhiannon's website, on there is the bit where you can go in the books and it'll give you the links where you can get the books. I'm so technical, aren't I? If you want to check that out, that is www.rhiannonlotze.com. And she is also on Twitter, so that's twitter.com @Rhiannon Lotze. These will all be under the video information and in the graphic. Thank you, Callum. Yeah, as always, I'm Tim Mendes. I don't know why I say that. I say that every time. As always, I'm Tim Mendes. Who else are you going to be?
People have to know.
Yeah, it's like, who else are you going to be, you moron?
You should start saying a different name at the end of every episode. Yeah.
This week, I haven't been Tim Mendes. I've been Stuart. I don't know. Anyway, if you want to check out my website, it is timmendeswriter.wordpress.com. And yes, once again, thank you very much.
Thank you. I had a lovely chat.
Splendid.
So nice to talk to someone who's outside of my house.
Yeah, that isn't just like words on a messaging thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a real physical person. Yeah, digitally.
But I can see somebody else and they're moving when they talk. No, I know. I totally get that. Yeah. So, yes, and thank you all for joining us, you people at home. I'm back next week with Mr. Chris Hewitt. So that'll be fun. I've done videos with him before. That should be funny. So, yeah, thank you all for joining us. Thanks for all for watching. Rhiannon, absolute pleasure. You'll have to keep in touch. Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Goodbye.